So we see here Lord Kapila is further explaining the Sankhya philosophy to Mother Devahuti. This is a new chapter titled Understanding the Material Nature. The previous chapter was titled as Fundamental Principles of Material Nature, and here it is Understanding the Material Nature. It's a very important chapter. Here Kapila Muni is saying that one's seeing power should be increased through the knowledge of spirit and matter. And one should unnecessarily identify himself with the body. One should not unnecessarily identify with the body, and because of such identification, one becomes attracted by bodily relationships. Sanubandhe cha dehesmin akurvan asadagraham jnanena drishtatattvena. Drishtatattvena means seeing in reality, for which jnana is required. How to see? Through jnana. Jnanena drishtatattvena. What has to be seen? Prakritehe purushasya cha. One has to see. Prakriti means the matter. Purusha means the spirit. And this is all about the Sankhya philosophy. Sankhya means an analytical study or analysis of the things that exist around us. And the whole of existence is made of what? Huh? Sorry? Matter. It's a combination of matter and spirit. And this analysis of matter and spirit should actually lead to the conclusion of devotional service. That is the aim of any yoga system, including the Sankhya yoga system also. One should culminate, any yoga system should culminate the platform of devotional service. So even Sankhya process also should culminate in the process of devotional service. But actually in the previous chapter, at the end, Kapila Muni had explained that. And for this culmination, to understand, to come to this culmination of understanding devotional service through the Sankhya process, that is possible provided one takes guidance from a authorized personalities. And that's what is Kapila Muni is trying to assist us. Through the assistance of narrations of Kapila Muni, actually we can come to that conclusion. If someone doesn't take to this guidance, then he will take up to the process of speculation. Through the process of speculation also we can try to understand what is matter and spirit. But that will take a very long time. And even if someone succeeds in understanding the matter and spirit to the process of speculation, still he will not have perfect understanding of the matter and spirit. Because he will understand, although understand that spirit is opposed to the matter, he will not understand that spirit is a person. Absolute truth is a person. He will understand spirit is formless. He will understand absolute truth as a formless. So that's why the process of understanding any system of yoga should be through the guidance of an authorized personality. So that's why Kapila Muni is so kind, and especially the science of analyzing the matter and spirit is very intellectual subject. In the previous chapter, we saw that how very vividly he is explaining about the material elements. And there is a class of people who are intellectual. For him also, Kapila Muni tries to give this analytical study of the matter and spirit. Sometimes it is difficult to understand. Last time someone came and said, Prabhu, it is very difficult to understand the Sankhya philosophy, especially the previous chapter. So technically explained. So nonetheless, there are class of people who want to understand intellectually. For them also there is a scope for them to get satisfied. So Kapila Muni is very nicely explaining here about the discrimination of an analytical study of matter and spirit. And this chapter specifically, understanding the material nature, is in furtherance to understanding the various material elements. In the previous chapter, we understood the various material elements, how it came into existence. But in the material nature, there is always an interaction of matter and spirit. And there is always interaction of the material elements, the modes of the material nature. So this chapter explains actually that how the matter, the material elements interact in this matter, interact in this material world. So that is the subject matter of this chapter. And as I said, one cannot understand the material nature through the process of speculation again. Because our ability to comprehend is limited. And material nature is not a subject matter which we can understand by the process of speculation, where when our capacity, when our ability is limited by its original nature. Just like how absolute truth is also inconceivable. That is one of the important characteristics of absolute truth, that it is achintya. Similarly, material nature also is inconceivable. We can't understand on our own ability. Why material nature is also inconceivable? Absolute truth is inconceivable. Even material nature is also inconceivable. Why is it so? Because material nature is the energy of the Lord. So anything connected to Lord, one cannot understand by one's own strength. So that's where we need the assistance of the higher authorities, and that's how Kapila Muni is explaining through the medium of Mother Devahoti. Because Mother Devahoti is putting forth a lot of relevant questions. And these relevant questions, even to pose, we need a lot of qualities. Simply one cannot ask questions without a relevant authority. So the position of Devahuti was that she is a great devotee of the Lord. And that's how she has been able to put such relevant inquiries. And when such relevant inquiries are answered by another authorized personalities, and when we hear such descriptions, it will succeed the goal of our life. Otherwise, we will be always in illusion about the position of matter and spirit. So, that's how in the beginning of uh, this chapter, Kapila Muni explains that how living beings are actually not supposed to be influenced by the material nature. That is the very first understanding that Kapila Muni in the beginning he gives. Living beings are superior to the inferior energy of the Lord originally. But although the material nature is inferior in nature, but spirit soul comes in connect with the material nature and gets influenced by the material nature, although not supposed to be influenced. Prabhupada gives the example of the sun and its reflection on the water. The sun is not affected by the reflection that is falling on the water. Similarly, the living being is actually not supposed to be influenced by the material nature. So it is actually always aloof of material nature. It can remain aloof of the material nature. So, how the living being can remain aloof of this material nature is actually the subject matter of understanding the material nature, which this chapter very nicely explained by Lord Kapila. And further, in the previous verse, Kapila Muni explains, after understanding that living beings is aloof of material nature, is nothing to get influenced by the material nature because that is a position of the jiva. What next the living being has to do is explained in the previous verse, where he says, Yadracha Yadrachaya upalabdhena santushtaha. So, after knowing that I am not supposed to be influenced by the material nature, the living being is supposed to be satisfied with whatever it possesses. Elsewhere also it is said, Yadracha labha santushto. Now, one should be satisfied with whatever one gains by one's own natural accord. So, satisfaction and happiness is a very important aspect of existence. In a conditional state of life, a living being is not satisfied with whatever it has. That is a state of influence of material nature. Someone who is influenced by the material nature, he will not be satisfied with the possession one has. He wants more and more. He wants to accumulate more money, thinking that will give satisfaction. But Kapila Muni is saying here, if at all someone wants to advance in spiritual life, one should be satisfied with what one possesses. And he should not eat more than what is necessary. And he should live in a secluded place. Secluded place means what? So we shall go to the forest and start living in the forest. Then what are we doing here in the temple? So living in a secluded place means one should live in association of devotees. One should avoid the association of non-devotees. And further, Kapila Muni says one should always be thoughtful. One should be thoughtful of the mind's activities. One should be peaceful, one should be friendly, one should be compassionate. So, like this, person who wants to practice the process of Sankhya, for him also there are many rules and regulations that has been given here. So, irrespective of whichever yoga system one follows, there are some set processes that has to be followed. That's what we understand here. Although Sankhya Yoga process is a process of analyzing matter and spirit, to understand that, to come to that state of understanding, there has to be some system, there has to be some process. It's not a bookworm process of understanding the matter and spirit, where you read, you understand, you try to analytically understand. So for that also, in that yoga system also, in this yoga system of Sankhya process also, one has to follow some process. That's what Kapila Muni explains. And in this verse, Kapila Muni says that one's seeing power should be increased through knowledge of spirit and matter. One's seeing power should be increased through the knowledge of spirit and matter. The whole of the material world, we see these two things, matter and spirit. The material world is characterized by matter and spirit. But matter and spirit are not of same nature. No? They are opposite in nature to each other. Matter is temporary, and matter has no consciousness. It is not conscious. But spirit is full of cognizance, and it is eternal. But still, this material world is composition of this matter and spirit. Our body is made out of matter. This material world, whatever objects we see, whichever objects we identify, it is made out of matter. Although the matter and spirit are opposite in nature, but we still see that this is coexisting in this material world, where the spiritual world is made of full of spiritual substances, and material world is made out of material substances. And in the material world, we also see matter and spirit is coexisting. How is it happening? This is happening by the expert arrangement of the Creator. That is the expertise of the Creator of this material world, that matter and spirit coexist in this creation. And this is the process of maintenance function of the Lord. So the maintenance means what? We are seeing that perfectly matter and spirit coexist in this creation. And that's what we see here. This material world is a composition or a place where we see matter and spirit coexist. So Kapila Muni is that's why giving us a thorough understanding here, and he is saying is that one should see, one's seeing power should increase through the knowledge of spirit and matter. Today, our seeing power is influenced by ignorance. So, when our seeing power is influenced by ignorance or influenced by illusion, then we don't have a proper understanding or proper knowledge of spirit and matter. We will be having many misconception of what is spirit and what is matter. And the foremost of all the misconception is to think that I am made of matter. I am this body. And when I am identifying myself with this body, then consequently what happens? One will unnecessarily identify himself as matter, and whatever he sees in this world which is connected to this body, he considers that as mine. He becomes attracted to bodily relationships, and that is what is known here as aham mameti. In Bhagavatam also elsewhere it is mentioned janasya moham aham mameti. This is called as false ego. We are always influenced by false ego in this existence, in the material existence, where we identify ourselves with matter. In the process of spiritual perfection, the Vedic literatures recommend to control our senses. And so long these material senses are not controlled, we will not be free from the process of being influenced by the false ego. Our senses are not controlled unless we control our mind. And our mind is never controlled unless we control our intellectual capability. And our intelligence is not controlled if we don't control the false ego. So, unless we control the lower self by the higher self, yoga samyamya, yoga indriya samyama. Bhagavad Gita also says that one should control through the process of yoga the lower self through by the higher self. And this control cannot happen artificially. What is this artificial control? Say, for example, in the previous verse, Kapila Muni says that one should regulate the process of eating. Bhagavad Gita also says that one cannot become a yogi by not eating at all, or by less eating, or by more eating. So one cannot control the senses in this way, where either one is like a pendulum thinking. It's an extreme thinking. One may think that one will control the eating process by not eating at all. So give up eating. No, that is not the process that is recommended in the process of Krishna consciousness. What is recommended is one should regulate the senses. One should regulate the process of eating, sleeping, yukta ahara viharasya yukta cheshta karmashu yukta swapna avabhodasya yogo bhavati dukkada. By regulating one's senses, one will be able to perfect in the yoga system. So, that is what is a process. We have to regulate our false ego also. Because by this false ego, we identify ourselves and we get attracted to the bodily relationships. And in this process of understanding of ego altogether is not bad altogether. What is ego? What is bad is identifying ourselves falsely with this body. So ego means identifying ourselves with something else and think that myself as that is called ego. And real ego means identifying oneself as the servant of the Lord, identifying ourselves as a spirit and identifying our connection with Supreme Spirit. That is called the real yoga, that is called the real ego. But in the situation of false ego, what happens is that one gets influenced by various desires, because the nature of or a function of false ego is that one becomes desirable to many things. One desire unnecessary, so many desires manifest, and that is a function of the false ego. And the nature of desire is based on the kind of identification that I connect with. If I connect with this body, or if I connect with this material nature, then naturally my desires are sensual in nature, my desires are material in nature. On the other hand, if I identify myself as a spirit, my desires are going to be spiritual in nature. Suppose if I am identifying myself as an Indian, so all my thought process, my actions, my thinking, my feeling will be in connection with my action as an Indian. I will think to protect this nation. I will think for the welfare of this country, because I am identifying myself with this country. So that's how the intelligence plays a very important role. The intelligence captures the desires that is manifesting out of the false ego, and it executes through the senses, through the mind and senses. So the nature of the false ego, the kind of ego that I am situated in, exactly reflects my actions, because the senses are influenced, the activities of the senses are influenced by the false ego. If I am, say, suppose, experience a failure, if I am in a state of false ego, then it is quite obvious that I become depressed. If I experience success, and if I am in the state of false identification, then I become proud. On the other hand, a devotee or a person who is situated in the platform of real ego, he also experiences success and failures, right? When a devotee experiences the success, he thinks that this success is because of the arrangement of the Lord. He doesn't think that I am the doer. It's not me, it's because of the Lord. And when failure comes, he doesn't get depressed. Unlike a person who is influenced by the false ego, who gets depressed. A person in the real ego, his faith and conviction never comes down, even though he experiences a failure. So, in the material world, so long one is not having this knowledge of spirit and matter, he is constantly tossed up between these kind of experiences of success and failure. This is called dvandva, and this is all because of false identification with matter. And this false identification, one can dismantle the false ego and situate oneself in the platform of real ego. And the process which we adopt is the process of Krishna consciousness. The process of Krishna consciousness actually makes the living being give up the process of identifying falsely with matter. It helps ones to rise from the platform of Dehatma Buddhi, or the bodily concept of life, to Bhagavata concept of life. The Bhagavatam, the purpose of Bhagavatam is to transfer one from the material concept of life or the bodily concept of life to Bhagavatam concept of life. One's thinking, feeling, and willing will be guided to the instructions of Bhagavatam. The whole effort of Bhagavatam is that to transform the living being to its original consciousness, which is Krishna consciousness. And that is possible when someone regularly hears Srimad Bhagavatam, when regularly one hears from pure devotees. That's what we see sometimes. People, when they come in connect with Krishna consciousness, they can themselves go back, rewind, and understand that what were they exactly prior to a life without Krishna consciousness. How their lives was driven by false ego. How our activities were driven by false ego. Mana, apamana, dhamba, adamba. Moment someone comes in connect with Krishna consciousness, someone who takes regularly to the process of sadhana bhakti, one will gradually get neutralized through the influence of the false ego. Sometimes when we meet our old connections who have seen us in the past life, and today they see us in the current state of practice of Krishna consciousness, they will be surprised. That is the magic that can be done. That is a transformation that can happen if someone can regularly get in connection with, be in connect with Krishna conscious practices. That is a wonder that can happen. This is the proof. And it has a direct experience. So, that is what is being explained here by Kapila Muni that one should increase one's seeing power through the knowledge. And that knowledge one should seek from the right source, from the Vedic literatures. And because of that arrangement, we see here Kapila Muni is trying to help us out that we give up this association with matter, give up this identification with the body. And if someone, by increasing the seeing power through the process of knowledge of matter and spirit, one can disassociate with, one can disidentify with this body, then the byproduct will be that one will not be attracted with bodily relationship. He won't be attracted to bodily relationship. Atasutapta vitta janasya moham. We create so many bodily attractions. We create so many bodily relationships in the name of different relationship. Suddenly all those relationships will be for us of no importance. We get disassociated with such kind of false relationships. After not being attracted to body relationship, where should be our attraction actually? Because living being by its nature cannot be without relationship. It needs some relationship because living being is by nature is social. It cannot remain aloof in a cave. Okay, I will get disassociated with body relationship, so I will remain in the cave. I will remain aloof. No, that is not possible. That is again an artificial process of disassociating with body relationship. After giving up this attraction to the body relationship, one should actually become attracted to relationship with Krishna. Because relationship with Krishna is our original relationship. Sometimes people misunderstand this, that association means or disassociation means one should no more talk to anyone, no more speak to anyone, not meeting, remaining aloof, not interact with people with this world. Mere interaction or interacting with people of this world doesn't mean that we are associating with people of this world. Association means, associating with people of this world means we are associating with the ideas, the ideologies, their thoughts, we buying their thoughts, buying their philosophy, being influenced by their philosophy, means associating with people of this world. So, mere interaction doesn't mean that we are associating. That means we are not stopping our interaction with people of this world. What we are stopping is we are stopping to buy the ideologies, the philosophies, the conclusion, the understanding, their thought process is what we stop buying. And this is meaning what is exactly should be understood as disassociating oneself with people of this material world. And one should associate with, after disassociating, what should be done? After disassociating, one should associate with Lord. One should associate with things connected to Lord. One should associate with Bhagavatam. Bhagavatam means anything that is connected to the Lord. One should associate with Vaishnavas. One should associate with deities. One should associate with process of devotional service. When someone takes up to that process, one will automatically get disassociated with attachment to this identification with this body, and consequently by that identification one will not be attracted to various bodily relationships that we make while we exist in this material world in material platform. So that is the process that Kapila Muni is giving here. The purport, Prabhupada says, the conditioned souls are eager to identify with body and consider that body is myself. In the conditioned state, it is quite very natural, very, very eager. We find an opportunity to how to make relationship with people of this world. No? Sometimes people are very social. They are easily gel with people of this world. They're naturally inclined. But such kind of relationship will always, such kind of identification will always keep one under the grip of illusion. So that's why Lord Kapila is recommending here, through the process of knowledge, one should try to understand that, try to understand the matter and spirit, and understand how that I am separate from this matter. Who am I? Why am I in this material world? How did I come to this material world? What is matter? What is spirit? What is material nature? Why am I being influenced by this material nature? This is exactly is what the Sankhya philosophy is trying to understand, which Mother Devahuti questioned to Kapila Muni. In the same way, like how Arjuna also questioned Krishna. Krishna was questioned by Arjuna on the same subject. In the 13th chapter, Arjuna requests to reveal what is actually knowledge, what is Prakriti, what is Purusha. Prakriti Purushasya Kshetra Kshetrajnaya. He asks what is Prakriti, what is Purusha, what is Kshetra, what is Kshetrajna. Etad Veditum Ichchami. So what Krishna explained in Bhagavad Gita, same thing is very elaborately explained here. And this is called as Sankhya philosophy, by which we can come to the culmination of the process of devotional service. That is the goal or end of any yoga process. We'll stop here. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam. Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada.